welcome back to Infinity Wealth. Dr. Martin Patel here. In this episode, I'm going to talk about commercial property, how COVID-19 has affected commercial property, what we can do to mitigate it, but also just to give you a quick background on commercial property. Now, commercial property in the past has always been, by most investors, a more of a passive way because you lease the property to a company on a full repair lease and they just paid you the rent, right? They looked after the whole property and they paid you the rent. Obviously, that whole model is now changing due to COVID-19. So although it used to be more passive in the older days, I don't know if you guys have pensions as well. I've got a pension. And with the new I also invested in property as well within the pension. And Standard Life has written to me recently saying, look, they're stopping any withdrawals from their fund, from their property fund, mainly because a lot of people are pulling money out now, so they need that money there. So if you're in that position, I would just stay fast, basically. It will come back at a later date. So when we're looking at commercial property, there's various commercial properties. There's shops. There's obviously offices, there's obviously industrial units, there's leasebacks as well. Leasebacks are mainly hoteliers who build the thing and then sell the whole freehold on and then lease the building back. So there's various ways of doing commercial property. In this one, I am going to talk about more about how we as investors can look at it. The important part of any commercial property has always been the footfall. It's very important. The footfall, also the yield that commercial property is producing, and it's actually the covenant of the tenant within that building. Now, those used to be strong indicators on valuations of commercial property. That's all changed now. With the rents actually dropping, more and more people, if you're a commercial landlord, more and more of your tenants may be asking you for a rent reduction in this current market. And it's best to try and work with them, because if they close up shop and leave, it's going to be a problem trying to fill that shop. So sometimes it is better to actually just deal with the situation you're in, just making sure everything is met, that your obligations on your mortgage and your debt are met. So if we look at the market right now, so if you look at the commercial property market right now, I know we used to have commercial property way back, which I used to help my father manage. But that was many years ago. But I've been looking to get back into commercial property to buy bigger buildings, basically, but not to actually convert them, but more as a pension hold, where I was looking at a passive income. Now that model is obviously changing for me, so I'm investigating more on that. But if you look at the hoteliers, if you look at Travel Lodge are actually being sued by all the landlords at the moment because they're not willing to pay their rents. So a group of landlords have come together trying to sue Travel Lodge. Obviously, Travel Lodge is a big company. If you're an individual, it's quite difficult for you to fight against a bigger company. So what they're doing is they've grouped together. So that just gives you an idea of what's happening within the commercial market. So just be mindful of that. Now, if we look at restaurants as well, restaurant owners obviously they've been closed for a long time, so they are in financial distress at the moment. So they will be again looking at the landlords, asking them, look, can we do a rent reduction? Can we do something? And it's really time, depending on the type of landlord you are. For me personally, I always try to help my tenants. If there is a way, I understand what the situation is in the market at the moment. I also understand that for me now to refill that space, it would be difficult. But at the same time, I don't want it vacant. I want it full, but I want some sort of income from it to meet my debt obligations as well. So smaller units again will be affected. Industrial units have been affected. Some industrial units, I've got friends who've got stuff in Kentish Town, and again, no one's there, no one's paying. So it's quite a difficult time for everyone, and it's really for us to come together as a unit to help each other. So what do I do? What would you be doing now? Lots of people have been wanting to convert commercial property, so offices into residential. Now, when you're doing valuations, these valuations are now going to change. Don't forget, commercial property is based on the covenant, the type of person that's there. If it's a large PLC company that has a good balance sheet, then obviously it's rated higher, and the yield that you'll get will be lower, the amount that you'll pay will be greater. But we're looking at converting offices, right? So empty buildings. What you'll find is that the prices of these empty buildings will be dropping now because the demand has changed. More and more people are working from home, so the demand for office space will be reduced. This is not for an indefinite time, but I think we're going through a real mindset change time at the moment, where more and more companies, especially if you look at the likes of Google, Facebook, Facebook in San Francisco has already said to a lot of its staff, you don't have to come, you can work from home if you want. Obviously, you'll take a pay reduction, and some people may take up that offer from Facebook and the larger companies where they're working. And these are mainly tech companies, so they're working from home, which will mean that the office space that they require, instead of using 3 floors of a building, they may have gone to 2 floors. They may now just need 1 floor. So obviously that demand will drop basically, and also the valuations of these properties will drop. So if you are looking to convert commercial to resi, okay, what you should be doing right now is having a look. Just staying, it's better to actually stare outside, seeing what's going on, taking your strategy. You don't have to rush in. I don't think this sort of thing will happen immediately overnight. I think it's going to be a long drawn out process for quite a few months, maybe 6-8 months, where people will now become more realistic and they'll price their projects to a better level. So to give you an example, I had a mentee who went up north, basically phoned me up, and he said, look, I've got this property that I'm looking at. It's an old office building. It's got planning permission for 45 units. What should we do? We looked at it, was on the market pre-COVID, above 1 million. Now they're willing to take £800,000 for this property, which has 42 parking spaces as well associated with it. Another example is where it was residential, where the end building was an office, the rest of it is all residential. Once again, that was being put on the market. He had an offer before, and it was too low. I told my mentee that he should be mindful of what's going on in the market, and the offer should be based on what the current market is in residential around that area, taking a little section off that, because prices are going to be dropping. There is no question that prices are going to be dropping. So if the current market valuation is X, take off 10% from it to safeguard yourself. It's not to actually steal things or anything. It's actually to safeguard yourself as individual investors. What we don't want to do is over leverage, pay too much for a product, and then all of a sudden find ourselves in the worst possible situation. So I'm trying to protect you guys as well when I'm doing these videos. So if we look at leases, if you are in this current climate, what will happen is that with COVID-19, you'll find that lease lengths, whereas before you had a 15-year lease, 10-year lease, rented it out on a full repair lease, now I think those lease times will change now. So it will be a case of people will be asking for shorter leases. They'll also probably in the lease agreements, they'll also put in a clause. I think if it was me, I would a clause about possibly if they're having to close down, then they're not having to pay the rent, or for unforeseen circumstances. Clauses like that will come in. They'll also negotiate better rents as well. For the properties as well. So just be mindful of all those situations. If you do find yourself in a situation where you have got a commercial building, you have, let's say, a restaurant owner who's there, he's been struggling, right? He's been struggling, he can't pay your rent. At the end of the day, the restaurant owner has spent a lot of money putting in new kitchens. It's not something that can be done overnight, but it is a case of maybe working with them, maybe giving them a rent reduction, or giving them a rent-free period. So if you've got an empty building, give them a rent-free period in which to start the business, make sure it's functioning, and then on the contra side, you can say, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a rent-free period, but instead of doing a 5-year lease, I'd like a 10-year lease. So you're trying to lock them in. So it is actually playing and making sure both parties are willing to compromise. And you have to be willing to compromise. Okay, so I've covered commercial offices. Like I say, industrial buildings as well. At the moment, there's been a strong demand for industrial units. So warehousing, large warehousing spaces where places like Amazon can store goods, and there will be a need for that because obviously more people are going online, and that's why it's going to affect more commercial property because more people are shopping online. So our habits are changing, and this is not something that's going to be overnight. This is now going to carry on happening. Prior to COVID, it was already happening. The commercial property market was already slowing down. What COVID-19 has done is accelerate the whole situation, okay? So just be mindful of that. If you are looking, to buy, be mindful that you're buying at a good price. That's going to protect you. Look at the residential side if you're looking at converting. See what the residential market is doing. Value the residential market on your project less than what you would normally do to cover your backs, to make sure that once the project is finished, you can actually sell it on. My advice would still be to actually stay fast and hold on to what you've got at the moment and look at ways to improve it. If you're in a better financial situation, more lenders are willing to lend to you as well, rather than just going gung-ho and over leveraging yourself at the wrong time of the market. So that's basically what I wanted to cover in this video about commercial property. So just be mindful of those situations. Once again, I hope you found it informative. If you do want to get into commercial property, it is a good time, but not necessarily now. It's a good time to actually observe what the market is doing. Commercial property is based on square footage or square meters in different areas, what their values are. These values are dropping. Speak to any commercial real agent and they'll tell you the same thing. Okay, so I hope you found it useful. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's a little bell icon underneath as well, so that whenever we do videos, you're notified. So press that. And above all, we are trying to generate a community who helps everyone. So if you think that people will find our videos useful, please share our videos and like our videos to other people, and we'll appreciate it. So thank you for your time. The next one, I will be doing another one based on developments and what the development market is doing and how we should actually take account of COVID-19 and future changes. Remember, as a developer, as a property entrepreneur, you need to be looking at what the paths are in front, how the environment is changing, so that you can change with it. Okay, great. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Speak to you soon. Take care.